the biggest thing I got out of the message was don't waste time.
If you're spending more time on things that don't activate what your real gifts are, then you're kind of wasting time. One of the things I've been looking at is that I have to now start looking at what are those passions and what am I doing to activate that part of me? Because that's where the other balance of our lives come in terms of wellness, your joy. Because like I said, I do this stuff because I'm capable of doing it, but that doesn't mean that's really my fit. You know, and sometimes we get mistaken that because we're trained at something and because we know how to do it, that's something we're supposed to be doing. In myself, in my own situation, I'm having success doing one thing, but I have to channel that success in a way that it moves me into the success I was put here to succeed in.
A couple of weeks ago, I went to the store, I went to the juice store in Montclair, and I bought a bottle of juice. It's just expensive, like $10 for a bottle. But it's, it's fresh, cold pressed juice or what have you. And so I put it in my refrigerator, and I didn't get to drink it right away. And then what happened was I forgot about it for a couple of days. And I went back to it, and the bottle was like expanded. And it was no longer good because it has passed its expiration date. And the reason why I just bring it up is that this goes back to what Bishop talked about many months ago, that we all have an expiration date. So in reality, from the youngest to the oldest in this room, we don't have time to waste. So that was last week's message. I mean, that's, it could be brought about in different ways, wasting time with people, wasting time with whatever, but we don't have time to waste. None of us in this room have time to waste. So we really have to consider, and that's part of how the two messages go together, consider how we're spending our time. What we're doing with our time. Is it something that's fruitful? Is it something that's productive? Is it something that is going to be beneficial for us? And even as Brother Eric was saying, and I think you touched on it as well too, different people have different things that they do with their time. So one person might be doing something, and it could be, I know you was bringing up when you was bringing up the business or what have you. One person can be doing something with their time which is productive for them, but another person, if they do that same thing, it's not productive because that's not what they're supposed to be doing with their time.
Right.
So our time, we have to consider for ourselves individually, what is it that's really good for my time to be used for? What is it going to be productive for me to use my time with?
It reminded me of this movie that I watched, and I think it's called Time, where they have like the scanners on the wrist, and they would basically use time as money, which it was really like time was money for them. They use time was the currency. So like if they went to the store, they would have to use like 20 minutes of their time to buy like milk or whatever, and other people stole their time. So it just brought up to me like that time is very valuable for each and every one of us, and that we shouldn't waste it because we don't know when our expiration date is. So it's just very valuable for us to focus on what our purpose is in life and just use our time wisely.
I wanted to just piggyback off of what was said and the prior week when Bishop was talking about your life tank, and he gave the illustration, the 4 squares and the 4 areas of your life, and it was just to really capture our awareness to determine, where are you, and it was going to be 0 tank or it was going to be full. And what was interesting to me when I was listening to everyone talk, and I thought about that, is how it's different for every person, what makes you feel like your tank is full or what makes you feel like your tank is empty. But what also I had been thinking about over the course of time, especially when he brought that up, is he said that based on the balance, it affects the energy and focus you have for life. Meaning if you feel depleted in certain areas, you're out of balance, so you're not going to be fully present for all the other things in life that you should be, and how one area affects the other. So it's so important to get ourselves in balance and determine whatever that is for us, that God has for us in those 4 areas, so that we can really get to a place of fulfillment and divine fulfillment.
Bishop always says what the key to life is.
Balance.
I see time as an investment because of investing your time with people in relationships, that means your time is worth it. Distractions get rich by the attention you pay them. That's a form of wasting time. Because distraction does cause you to be sidetracked from your God-ordained assignment, from your purpose.
Teacher said time is valuable. But just really quickly, time is valuable because it's irreplaceable. You know, you say gold is valuable because, you know, if you have some gold, you lose it, you can get some more, what have you. You can't get time back. Once you use it, you lose it. That's it. Once it's gone, you don't get that time back. So that's what I said before, and as Brother Jason was saying as well, time is valuable. It's like super valuable because you can't replace it. You know, what we did yesterday, what we didn't do yesterday, we can't get that back and say, you know, let's do it again because we didn't do it. No, you can't do it. You can move on from today. So you really have to treat time for the great commodity that it is.
What His Grace is sharing with us is that, you know, it kind of, you know, it's working the same way. If we're wasting time, you notice how we deteriorate. And we deteriorate in other areas of our life. That's where the imbalance comes in. And one of the things I had a hard time grasping was when I'm weak in one area, that how it impacts another area of my life that I might think is strong. That area is strong momentarily, but if I allow that weak part of me to remain weak, it will eventually overpower and weaken the other areas, right?
It all comes back to what you guys are talking about with time and wasting time and so forth, is the question that the Lord will ask us at this point in our life for us to really check ourselves where we're at is, where are you? Where are you in your health? Where are you in your love? Where are you in your play? Where are you in your work? Where are you in your life? What is your life? What is your life about? What things, even as Minister Sam was saying, you know, because it's such a great commodity, and even as the movie that we're talking about expresses the value of time, we have to really bring it back to how the Lord is saying, you know, I have a specific purpose for you. I have a particular goal for you. I've sent you here, put you here for a reason, and I've set certain things in place and in order. And yes, we all have to learn, and we all have to grow, and we all have to mature. But where are you? What are you doing? What are you? We all, I think me and Danielle, I know Danielle's gonna have a comment, but I know me and Dee Dee were talking before, and she was like, we really have to think about what are you doing? We all have that 24 hours.
I believe Bishop has made reference to this, or I've heard it referenced before, is what determines a successful person versus someone who may not be living in their purpose and may not be as successful. And that is how they use their time. We're all allotted the same amount of time within 24 hours.
Right.
But it's what you do with your time. Are you sleeping to 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then you get up and you wait another 2 hours before you get up? Or are you up at the crack of dawn and making your time going towards your purpose or making it valuable? And that's just what determines successful versus not successful.
Years ago, when I was at Faith Temple New Hope Christian School, I was a nurse practitioner. And I went away to Washington, D.C. And a person came up to me and prophesied and said, you're going to be surrounded by children. I said, I'm a nurse. I'm surrounded by children every single day. He said, no, I don't mean that. You're going to be in a different position. So when I came back to New Jersey, my pastor, the principal left. And my pastor asked me to be the principal of the school at that time. And I said to myself, I don't know anything about being a principal. Nothing. Lord, what must I do? Looked in the papers and I saw where I could go to school to become a principal. Because I said, I am not going before these people, these teachers, trying to tell them how to plot out their time and their, everything. I said, Lord, open up a door for me. And I went to Jersey City, and they had courses in how to be a principal.
Yes.
Took those courses on the slide, didn't tell anybody. I didn't know what I was doing. Took the courses, came back, and I was prepared to
Amen.
be principal of the school. But I would not, like the Lord said, where art thou? I was nowhere. I had to go back to school to learn how to be a principal.
I tell people this a lot, I tell this a lot to people, how time is the most valuable currency. Because like Dad said, it's something that you can't get back once you use it. Like this 10 seconds right now, I'll never get back in my life. So when you put that into perspective and you have that in your mind all the time, how if you're sitting down, like me, when I wake up in the morning, I want to go back to sleep. And I end up just sitting in my bed doing nothing for like 10 minutes. And I think to myself, I could have slept for 10 more minutes, or I could have gotten up and actually done something. I literally just sit there and look at nothing. So when you put that into perspective, every moment of your life that you're doing something, when you think, like, am I using this time the best that it can be used, because I'll never get the time back, it kind of helps you to plan out your day more, to be more productive in your day.
The most you could do when you realize how much time you have wasted is to get with the Lord so he could help redeem the time. Meaning you're not going to get that time back, but to help you get to a place of acceleration.
Young people are most of them are so carefree. They're not thinking about time, as we have learned and thinking about. So as you get more mature in life, it becomes more necessary and an important factor, more important than a younger child.
I would agree and disagree with that statement about younger people being less concerned about time. I would say from my perspective and me, I feel like being young, I'm 20, I definitely would say that I feel time very intensely. And I feel like when it comes to like young people versus people of an older age, time for us is definitely different. We have a perspective just because when you're young, the younger you are, the faster, and we kind of learned this in my like psychology class about the different stages of like human and mental versus like physical stages. But as you're younger, you go through much more stages than you do when you're older, if that makes sense. Because when you're younger, you can go from, in the span of 20 years, I've gone from being a baby to being where I am now, while the span of 20 years for a 30 to 50-year-old is different, but it's not as many different stages, if that makes sense. So time for me, I feel like there's a big pressure because me being 20, I'm gonna be so different than me being 22.
Right.
So it's like I feel the pressure to, I need to accomplish this before I turn this age. Before I turn 21, I want to have this done. I feel like it's almost the older you get. I don't know. The more I'm talking, the more I feel like the older you get, the more you get a little lax with your time. Because it's like when I'm 20, when I'm 18, or when I'm 16, I can't wait to be 18. I want to do all this stuff so that when I turn 18, I'll be at this stage. I'll be at such a different stage than when I'm 16. While as when you're 30 versus 35, people can be at the same exact stage in life.
Right.
And it's like, the older you get, it can oftentimes or sometimes cause you to become more lax because it's like you're not, there's not as much milestones effort that go into it.
Right. That's why I corrected myself when I said younger and I said more mature and immature.
You had said something about as you get a little older, you get more lax. Now, somebody in my position might say he's wrong, but he's really not. He's really not. One of the things is the changes you have gone through were more physical as well as some of it is emotional, but most of it is physical. the physical changes that we go through from age 30 to 50, you know, you don't notice them. There are some changes, they're subtle. The level of responsibilities have already creeped up on that 30-year-old in such a way that now they have been so concentrated on those levels of responsibility, and in that case brings you to what he mentioned in that sedentary. We become more sedentary where we work, come home, work, come home. And so we don't grow in the other areas of our life. Where we were younger, we were always being drawn to other things. When I was in my 20s, I went to work all the time. Also played basketball 4 hours after work. Also went to plays, did all these things. Why? Because I was younger? No, because I had the energy was being thrown at me and I was absorbing it.
Just like how Grace brought up in the last couple of weeks, you know, you kind of got to go back to what the word says, you know, and that's part of what even Isaiah's bringing up as well too, because that question that God asked to Adam was what? It was, Karen brought it up, is where are you?
Where are you?
You know, because where are you at 20 versus where are you at 43 versus where are you at, you know, 50, whatever. It's a different answer. So you're going to value time differently at the stage that you're in. So, you know, that's why that question is so important for us to ask ourselves, where are you? What stage of life are you in? You know, so are you Thaddeus, you 4, you know, he's going to value time and he's just going to be playing. And that's where it goes into, Chris might be going into that direction though, that dashboard that His Grace put together. Yeah, I think it was the work, play, what was the other two?
Health,
Health, and love. Work, play, health, and love. So at different stages of your life, at Isaiah at 20, he might have work at a very high ranking, or that's a very high priority for him, and you know, play might be, you know, low for him because he's, you know, thinking ahead. Whereas when we get like in my stage right now, work is taking a backstage to me having some playtime and being able to enjoy what I worked hard for. You know, because the only way we can change from where we are is to figure out where we are right now. You know, because if you don't know where you are right now, you're not going to change from where you are to that next level or to advance or to grow. So it's to first identify where are you? Where are you? And then you can make an adjustment to do better.
When God asks us that questions, or even for us to evaluate ourselves, it's not that God doesn't know the answer. Just like he knew exactly where Adam was. But he just wants us, when God asks us questions, I remember even His Grace brought up the fact that when he even asked all the questions to Job, he knew all the answers to those questions. It's just a way to get him to think. It's a way to get all of us to think where, that it comes down to that. Where are you? What are you doing? How are you, you know, functioning? And it just gets us at a place to, like I said, God knows exactly what's going on with each and every one of us. It's just for us to now do that self-contemplation, self-evaluation, and to get us exactly where He needs us to be.
Bishop's talking about the time, about wasting your time. But I could think about, I'm like, even before, I thought even more. Wow, the day was so quick. It's now this time, now that time. Then I look, I'm like, what did I do? I could have done this, I could have done that. And I'm like, oh wow, I gotta get it together. I have to get it together. And then what pushed me even more, when that message came forth, then we had like for the dashboard, the different things. That pushed me even more. I said, I gotta do something. I said, the earlier I get up, I should be doing more, having more done. And so I'm like, okay, well I started the workout program. So I started at the 5,000 steps. Then I'm like, no, I could do a little more. Then I started pushing myself even more. Actually, this was even before Bishop said, but then I started pushing myself more to doing it. And then I'm getting up to 7,000. And then I got down to 9,000 and 10,000. I'm like, oh wow, this is good, this is good. Because it kept me moving, kept me active. But at the same time, I'm working that dashboard. That health dashboard. I'm working that, and I'm even working the play. Because to me, it got kind of fun. Then you like see like a crossing guards, you see people in the morning, like, oh wow, you doing it? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But Bishop said to write that schedule I don't always do it, but I'm working on that.
That's good.
Even sometimes I'll do it, I'll wait to do it till afterwards. I say, well, I gotta get more into doing it like beforehand, so I can see where more of my time is going. Because honestly, when I looked at that dashboard, I was like half full. My tank is not full to where it should be. So it's just pushing me to like push more into those areas, more to the work, more to family, to love, more into that. So not just think out there.
Work your time and don't let time work you.
Piggyback off of Isaiah, because as I'm 23 right now, and I really do feel like time, I feel the pressure of time. I think about it all the time. I actually drive myself crazy thinking about it most of the time. And work time, don't let time work you.
Well, from the discussion, hearing other people, what they've had to say, I would say that one thing, I would say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in order to not waste time, one valuable thing that you can, I guess, keep in mind is to not fall into a routine, because I feel like that is one thing that people do the older you get, like you graduate college, you start a job, you may move around a couple times to a couple different jobs, but a lot of people, by the time they're 30, 35, they're in their job, they're in their career, they're kind of doing the same thing, they're in their routine that they follow through until retirement. And it can oftentimes, the difference that you say about when you were 20 is that you used to do other things, you used to work, you used to play basketball, you used to do a lot of other things that would make each day different.
Yes.
And then the older you get, it can sometimes become easier to just keep up that same routine where each day and each day feels the same. So I would say, in order to not waste time, one thing for me to keep in mind is to make sure that I'm doing something each day that is benefiting me, and one thing each day that is not the norm. Do something exciting, adventurous, travel a little.
And that's that
spontaneous.
balancing of that dashboard that Bishop was just talking about. Health, he did the 4 areas: health, play, work, and love. You bet, because if we become, like you said, routine, then that means that there's some areas, if we're in work and work and work, the rest are off tilt.
Yeah, off
They're-
tilt.
yeah, they're-
So yeah. So that is my goal. I'm gonna be traveling a bit if anyone would like to, sponsor travel.
Also, I feel like for me, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I've dwelled on the time that I've wasted. And I feel like in order to move forward and to start a new life and to start a new journey path, whatever it is, just don't dwell on it and move forward and take the next step.
Right.
Yes.
And just keep thinking forward. Don't think about what you wasted, what you could have done. Just keep moving forward, and then I think you can progress from there.
Don't cry over spilled milk.
That was the example that Sister Les gave as well too, because she started off saying, I haven't been doing this, exercise or whatever, but then, as Tashana was saying, she didn't sit and say, okay, well, I didn't do it, so I'm gonna just stay in this same situation and not do it. She said, no, you know what, let me start doing it, and then she sees she's improved and improved and improved. So you don't wanna stay in that regret state. You wanna, if you can, use it as motivation to start doing something different, to go in a different direction. And then you won't have the regret anymore. It actually sounds like she's very motivated to continue to keep walking and let everybody see her walking and keep going. So
Actually, by them seeing me, then they're motivated. Oh, I need to do that.
Yeah.
I need to get out there with you. I need to do that. Then
And another quote to go off from what my dad was saying about, or what other people were saying too, about like immediate action and not wasting time. A quote that I had seen a while ago and that has kind of inspired like immediate action with me, with different things that I'm trying to do, is well, the quote goes like this. It was kind of like some kind of story, but it was basically the gist of it. It's like, a month from now, you can either have a month worth of progress or a month worth of plans or time that you thought about it. Because when we think about people that are highly successful or people that have accomplished a lot of things, they're successful because they did something, because they performed action, because they dedicated time. That is one thing that I've learned recently, that not everyone that is successful is the best, or not everyone that is successful is started off as the greatest at what they are. Beyonce didn't start off as the greatest singer, but she dedicated time to work on her craft, and she dedicated years of practice to become who she is today. And she could have spent those years thinking about planning out how she was going to do these different things and planning out what is the best course of action for her to learn how to sing or whatever. But instead of that, she actually dedicated and put time into it, so that instead of a year of just plan, she made a year of action and had a year of progress.
Application.
Because when we think about it, how much we can really change when we think about like working out and stuff like that, how much our bodies can change, how much we can progress within a certain span of time, if we say like 3 months. If we're working out consistently every day or 5 days a week, whatever, for 3 months, our bodies can change a lot. Especially if we're doing the right things, eating with it too. And in perspective, if you put it into perspective, 3 months isn't all that much. But if you're putting towards action, 3 months is sometimes all you need to kind of keep the ball rolling. So it's just like immediate action. I can spend today thinking about what I want to do and all my goals and all these different things. But a week from now, it's easy to kind of get stuck just thinking about all my goals and all the things that I want to do. But a week from now, I could either have made a week worth of progress or just stuck in that thought.
Perfect practice prevent poor performance.
All right.
5 P's.
And even Bishop, I think Bishop has said it before, and I say it a lot too. A lot of people wait for the perfect opportunity or the perfect time, or to have the perfect things to start doing what they want to do. I think it's like he says, learn to become an imperfect action taker. And when you realize how much time you waste on trying to find the perfect time, the amount of progress that you could have made in that time if you're trying to find the perfect time, you could have been working, even if you're not doing it perfectly, you could still be working towards that goal, and you'll be that much closer than you are right now, just thinking about when you should start.
Yes. I mean, one of the things that, Josiah's touching on is if you start something, it's incomplete, but it's an action. And we can only measure our actions. We can't measure our real goals. Goals, a goal is just a goal. But once we have put that into action, then we can measure where we are. And we could modify that. We can get better. But it has to start somewhere. So that's where the whole imperfect start, statement falls into play, where as long as you start something, at the end of the week, guess what? You're better off than you were the previous week.
Time goes so fast. Time don't wait for anybody. So what I do, I always plan what I'm going to do. First thing I do, I get up early in the morning. Say like 7 o'clock, because I know time is going to go so fast. So whatever I have to do, I have to get up early. So I get up early in the morning, do what I have to do. I go to the gym. So I have this plan what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the gym. After the gym, I'm going to go to the movies. After the movies, then I'm going to go food shopping. I have everything planned what I'm going to do. Because I know if I don't plan stuff, I'm going to sit there and wonder what I'm going to do, and time's going to bypass me, and I'm going to end up doing nothing.
Nike has that slogan, just do it. It seems so simple, just 3 words, but it's really true. Just do it. Just don't even think about it. Well, think about it, but just do it.